Welcome back to Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Online Trading Academy. An Online Trading Academy, 25 years teaching people just like you how to trade and invest in the financial markets, how to make smart investing decisions, whether you're in your working years or during retirement. If you happen to miss 2 seats for that investing class that we do local at our academies, you can text the word investing to the number 210 for 2 seats. You can text investing to the number 210 for 2 seats for this investing class at Online Trading Academy. And these classes are about 2 hours long, and we introduce you to these different techniques and concepts. On the last segment, we were talking about different income strategies during your working years or during retirement, but also how to use multiple assets, whether it's stock, options, futures, or that Forex market. And in this segment here, I know a lot of you guys stayed around and stuck around for this segment because this is very important right now. It's those retirement accounts. That's what everybody saves up all their life for, is to have that retirement time. I was just having a conversation with a good friend just recently, and they were talking about they're not where they thought they would be at this time. And they said, I thought I would be retired by this time and being able to spend time with the grandkids and all that stuff that people want to do during those years. And they see their friends doing all that stuff, and they just can't do that because they still have to work. So there are income strategies if you are a little bit short during that retirement time. But also, you need to protect what you have in these markets that have been down for over a year now. So, Al, I want you to kind of discuss about, first let's discuss protecting what you have in your accounts, because if you can't protect it, you can't grow it. And then I want to get into some of those strategies with those retirement accounts, whether you have a 401k, especially an IRA, to be able to direct that. Because think about this. This is your money. Why have a stranger direct that for you? Why have a stranger do that? I was actually having a conversation with somebody this last week, and they said, they have a broker, they have an advisor, and they've given all their money to them over the many, many years. And it hasn't been, in their opinion, hasn't been what they were wishing for or hoping for. And they wanted to get into the markets, and they're like, well, I'm going to get in the markets, but I just don't know how to do that. Maybe I should ask my broker or advisor. And by the way, this broker or advisor didn't know them. They were just an account, and they asked them, hey, I'm looking at, directing this myself and trading myself. And you know what they said, Al? Well, you're kind of busy right now. You just don't have the right, enough time to do things. Mm-hmm. But so people look at that and say, "Oh, you're the smart person. You're the professional. I should listen to you and not do this." But the reason why they're telling people that you don't have enough time or you can't do this is because if you pull your money from them, they are losing those commissions and fees, and that's their business. And nothing against the people; it's just the way it is. So they condition and train people to just give you their money, hold it, and say nice things and try to keep you from taking your money from them. Al, I want you to discuss protecting your accounts and then directing them yourself.
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, it's important for people to understand this. These companies, the Wall Street firms, they are in business for their bottom line. That's more important to them than your bottom line. So just kind of remember that. And last year, you mentioned protection. How do you protect your assets? Last year, the average 401k was down over 25%, which means that a lot of people had no protection over their assets. Maybe you had some diversification that kept you from going down 30% instead of 25%, but you still had a loss. So now ask yourself this. Now, are you still excited about retirement, or are you just dreaming about what could have been? And that's not the situation that you want to find yourself in. Unfortunately, a lot of you now are already in the hole, so to speak, with your retirement accounts. So how do you get out? How do you recover those losses? And that means gaining more than just the average returns that we might be seeing over the next maybe 5 to 10 years. So how do you do that? Are there assets that will allow you to do that? But number one, before you even think about doing anything else, learn how to protect the assets that you have. How can you do that? We talk about that in these classes. In fact, we think the number one thing you should learn, regardless of whether you're in retirement or you're just starting to become a trader or investor, is how to lose. Basically, not losing.
Keep it small.
But keep it small. You have to learn that first before you go on to deal with the profit part of it. That becomes the easy part of it. But do you have a plan? What's your retirement plan? Do you actually have a plan? And how does your plan account for major corrections or crashes, bear markets? How does your plan account for income? And how does your plan account for protection? And do you even have a plan? But those are things that are important that we talk about. The most important thing when you go into retirement is that protection part of it. But then the second one is income. And people think, well, I don't need an income. I've got this big chunk of money now that I've worked 30 or 40 years from now. I'm just going to use that to pay my bills and so forth. Well, what happens to that pile of money every time you take a chunk out? It gets smaller and smaller. It's like we've often used a reference to a snow pile.
Yeah.
And as the sun hits that snow pile, it dwindles down. Pretty soon it's gone. Well, you might have many more years left to live, because what we're finding is that a lot of people end up outliving their retirement money, and that's the number one fear that people have.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? Well, we show you how to protect your assets, and then also how to generate income off of what you have. If what you have isn't enough, if that's not going to help you live the retirement dreams that you have, how do you use the market to do that? How do you use the market sort of like an ATM machine to pull income out as you need it, and to help you to kind of fill the gap that's there because the income from your job is no longer there?
Yeah, well, you mentioned having a plan, and I think a lot of our listeners are probably like, yeah, I need a plan, but they don't know the steps within that. They don't know where to start. And really, it starts with these investing classes that I'm going to give away seats to here in a little bit. But Al, when someone comes to you and says, I don't have a plan for retirement, I don't know what to do, and you really help people kind of cross that barrier of fear, of doing something on their own. What's some of the things that you do to help people be comfortable doing that?
Yeah, well, first of all, paint a picture for us. What do you want your retirement to look like? Too many other pieces of advice that people get is based on how much you have, and then looking at an average return or what they think the average return is going to be. Then they basically tell you how you're going to live your retirement. We prefer to have you tell us what you want your retirement to look like, and then let's see if we can't put together a plan that addresses that helps you bridge the gap from where you are now to where you want to be. We show you how to protect the assets you have, but everyone's going to be a little different as to what they want their retirement years to look like, what their retirement years can look like. There's also one of the things that's hard when you plan for retirement is you don't know what's going to happen, physically. We don't know what's going to happen as far as like getting a divorce, illnesses, injuries, all those things that may require you to do something different. There are events that can happen that maybe will change the rate of return you need to get to where you want to go. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, what happens when they go through those events and they realize that maybe there isn't enough money there, they start to take chances. They start to take on too much risk, and that's something that we want to address. There are ways of addressing the market using different assets, and there are income assets that you can use before you retire to generate more income, but you can also use in retirement. I'm talking about things like options and futures and the foreign exchange market, the forex market. And I know some people, they cringe when they hear those words. Well, it's probably because you don't really understand those assets. And we see people all the time that come in and say, I listened to something on YouTube and I started trading options, or I started trading futures and I lost money.
Worst thing to do.
Absolutely. So there is a right way to do each of those. There's a right way to address the market during different different economic situations.
Yep.
But it's all part of education. It's just knowledge.
Yeah, you were explaining that you have to protect your accounts, and really what we mean by that is protecting them from loss. And Alan, do you remember the Price is Right?
Sure.
Not when Drew Carey was doing it, but was it Bob Barker?
Bob Barker, right?
And there was that mountain climber.
Yeah, that's right. And the yodeling thing?
Yodel, yodel, yodel. He'd go to the very top, and then he'd fall off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's very similar to what a lot of people's 401ks and IRAs do in down markets. They go to the top, to where it's at, and they fall over that cliff, and then they have to start over. And that's why the returns are so small over a lifetime, because you keep having these big losses. So what we want to do at Online Trade Academy is remove those big losses to protect what you have. And you have to do that, as Elle was talking about, with a little bit of education. And the education starts with understanding and being introduced to these concepts. Hopefully we're opening your eyes, or your ears, I should say, on the show here today to understand there are opportunities. Come into these investing classes so you can see what those opportunities are. That way you have more consistency in your accounts, and then having more confidence going into those retirement years. Text the word investing to the number 210 for 2 seats. That's text investing to 210 for 2 seats for this investing class. Al, we got one more to go. I want to talk some more about those income strategies in retirement accounts, but also income strategies during those working years, so people can have more opportunities during that retirement time. This is Josh and Al. We'll be right back.